Love doesn't always look like poetry and grand gestures. Sometimes it hides in the quietest corners of someone's actions, especially when he hasn't found the courage to say it out loud. A man in love may not always say, "I love you," right away. But if you watch closely, his heart will speak in its own language. You'll see it in the way he remembers things you said once and never repeated, in how he checks in when you're having a rough day, in how he smiles when you're not even looking, like you've become his favorite moment in a day that otherwise feels ordinary. Men are often taught to be strong, reserved, and emotionally distant. But real love softens even the toughest hearts. And when a man falls deeply, madly in love, his actions begin to shift in quiet, beautiful ways. He won't always say what he feels, but his behavior will start to whisper the truth. Maybe he stares at you from across the room, thinking you'll never notice. Maybe he keeps small things that remind him of you. A photo, a note, a memory. Maybe he listens when you don't think he's paying attention, and then surprises you later with that very same detail. These moments may seem small, but they are everything. This video isn't about casual attraction. It's not about mixed signals or playful flirting. It's about the deep, unspoken love that shows itself in ways many women overlook. Not because they don't care, but because no one ever taught us to look for the quiet signs. So if you've been wondering whether the man in your life feels more than he's letting on, if his actions ever confused you, warmed you, or made you stop and think, wait, was that love? This is for you. Because sometimes, love doesn't come with loud confessions. Sometimes it shows up in silence, in protection, in attention, in patience, in small sacrifices you were never meant to notice. Here are 15 things men do when they're madly in love, even if they'll never admit it out loud. Let's begin. 1. He stares at you when you're not looking. When a man is madly in love but doesn't admit it, one of the quietest yet most telling signs is the way he looks at you when you're not looking. It's in those stolen glances across the room, in the way his eyes soften when you're focused on something else, in the moments where he pauses just to take you in. He may not say it out loud, but his eyes are already speaking the truth. His heart is still learning how to say. He watches you laugh with friends, tie your hair, concentrate on something small. And in those everyday actions, he finds a kind of beauty that captivates him. You might not even notice, but he does. He studies the details of your expressions, the rhythm of your voice, the way you carry yourself, not because he's obsessed, but because he's enchanted. You've become his favorite view, and he can't help but look. And when you catch him staring, he may quickly look away or pretend to be distracted. That's the giveaway. If it were just flirtation, he'd hold the eye contact boldly. But love makes a person vulnerable. And that gaze, that hidden admiration, comes from a place far deeper than casual attraction. Sometimes, the most powerful emotions are the quietest. Love, especially unspoken love, often hides in the way someone looks at you when you're unaware. Because in those moments, there are no filters, no performance, no rehearsed lines, just raw, silent truth in his eyes, the kind that says, "You mean more to me than I know how to explain." And that silent gaze is one of love's oldest, purest languages. 2. He gets jealous over small things, but hides it. When a man is madly in love but doesn't say it out loud, jealousy becomes one of the emotions he struggles to hide. Not the toxic kind, but the quiet, unspoken kind. The kind that flares up in small, unexpected moments. Maybe you mention another guy who made you laugh, or someone complimented you, or you spent more time with someone else. And even if he smiles on the outside, there's a subtle shift in his mood. He won't explode or make a scene. He may not even say a word. But you'll notice it in the way he goes a little quiet, changes the subject, or suddenly seems distracted. That's because when a man deeply cares about you, the idea of losing your attention or affection, even for a moment, stings. And he feels that sting more deeply than he'll admit. Jealousy, in this case, doesn't mean possessiveness. It means emotional investment. It means he sees you as someone who matters, someone whose attention he values, and whose presence he wants to hold on to. But because he hasn't confessed his feelings yet, he doesn't feel like he has the right to express it openly. So he hides it behind humor, indifference, or distraction. Sometimes he'll play it cool, sometimes he'll joke about it, but deep down, those small waves of jealousy are little signs of love breaking through. Not because he wants to control you, but because you mean more to him than he can comfortably admit. When a man gets quietly jealous, it's not just about who you're talking to. It's about how deeply he's fallen for you and how hard he's trying to keep that truth to himself. 3. He remembers your routines and adjusts his to match. When a man is deeply in love but hasn't admitted it, you'll notice something subtle yet powerful. He starts to remember your routines, and without making a big deal about it, he adjusts his own to align with yours. He learns when you like to take your coffee, what time you usually go for a walk, when you're free to talk, or when you're most likely to feel tired or overwhelmed. And he quietly shapes his presence around those moments. He might message you just before your lunch break, knowing that's when you can talk. Or he'll avoid calling during the time you're usually studying or working, even if he misses you. If you take early morning runs, he might suddenly mention he's doing the same, not to copy you, but to be closer to your rhythm. These adjustments aren't random. They're small sacrifices he makes to feel connected to you, to show he's paying attention. It's his way of quietly saying, I see you, I remember you, I care enough to meet you where you are. And most of the time, he won't even tell you he's doing it, because he doesn't want to make it look like effort. He wants it to feel natural. But it's not just about remembering your schedule. It's about wanting to be part of your daily life, even in the smallest ways. When a man starts matching his pace with yours, it means you've become part of his internal world. And though he may not say the words, his actions echo the truth. He's not just thinking of you. He's trying to walk with you, step by step, without needing to be asked. 4. He keeps things that remind him of you. When a man is madly in love but hasn't spoken the words, one of the quietest signs is how he holds on to things that remind him of you. It could be something as simple as a note you once wrote, a gift you gave him, a photo, or even a random object tied to a memory, like a movie ticket from a night you spent together, or the wrapper from a snack you both laughed about. These items might seem insignificant to others, but to him, they carry weight. They hold a piece of you, a piece of time, a moment he doesn't want to forget. He may keep them tucked away in a drawer, in his car, or even somewhere he sees often. Not to show off, but to silently revisit the feeling of being close to you. Sometimes it's digital. He saves screenshots of conversations, voice notes, or photos where you're smiling in a way he loves. And when he misses you, or when he's alone, he'll look at those things, and for a moment, it's like you're there with him. He may never tell you he does this. He may even feel a little embarrassed about it. But the truth is, when someone holds on to the smallest reminders of you, it's because you've made a place in their heart. He's not just keeping objects, he's keeping connection, quiet proof of what you mean to him. And when a man guards those little reminders like they're rare treasures, it's not about sentimentality, it's about emotion he hasn't yet found the courage to say out loud. That's not just affection, that's love, quietly archived. 5. He gets nervous when something matters to you. When a man is truly in love but hasn't said it yet, One of the most revealing signs is how nervous he gets when something matters to you. Whether it's a big event in your life, a goal you're chasing, a problem you're facing, or even something as simple as your mood, he becomes more alert, more cautious, more emotionally invested. Because what affects you affects him. You'll notice it in the way he reacts before you give a big presentation, take an exam, or go to an interview. He might fumble with his words, overthink what to say, or try too hard to be supportive, not because he doubts you, but because he's scared of saying the wrong thing. That nervousness is his heart showing through. It's his way of silently saying, I want things to go well for you more than I want them to go well for me. Even during your low days, when you're upset or hurt, he seems restless. He checks in more often, looks for signs that you're okay, and tries to make you smile, even if it means setting his own feelings aside. And if he knows he can't fix the situation, it bothers him deeply because he wants to help. He wants to be someone who makes your life better, even in small ways. This kind of nervousness isn't weakness. It's love trying to protect what it values. It means he's emotionally tied to your well-being, and your happiness has become part of his own. He may not have said the words out loud, but his anxiety when it comes to your heart is a quiet confession. He's not just watching you live your life, he's emotionally living it with you. 6. He talks about you to his friends without you knowing. When a man is madly in love but hasn't admitted it yet, he often lets his guard down in places you can't see, like with his closest friends. He talks about you when you're not around, not to brag or show off, but because you've quietly taken over space in his thoughts. You come up in conversations naturally. He'll mention something funny you said, a story you told, or how you made his day better. And sometimes, without even realizing it, his friends begin to know who you are just through his words. He may bring you up casually, like, she'd love this movie, or that reminds me of something she said. But the truth is, every time he talks about you, it's because you're important to him, because you're already a part of his emotional world. And whether he knows it or not, he's weaving you into his life. His friends might start teasing him, calling him out on how often your name comes up. Or they may ask when they're finally going to meet you, because they already feel like they know you. That's when you know it's not just surface-level interest, it's something deeper. Men don't talk openly about someone unless that person really matters. And when he speaks about you with pride, affection, or quiet admiration, especially when you're not there to hear it, that's not just infatuation. That's genuine love in progress. It means you're not just in his day-to-day, you're in his stories, his thoughts, his future. Even if he's not ready to say it to your face, he's already said it to the people who matter most to him. 7. He tries to impress you without making it obvious. When a man is falling in love but isn't ready to admit it, he'll often try to impress you, but in the most subtle, unspoken ways. He doesn't show off loudly or brag about his achievements. Instead, he quietly adjusts his behavior, puts in extra effort, and does things that he hopes you'll notice without drawing attention to the fact that he's trying. Maybe he starts dressing a little better when he knows he'll see you. Or he casually mentions something he did well at work, hoping you'll feel proud of him. He might go out of his way to help someone in front of you, not for recognition, but because he wants you to see the kind of man he is, someone dependable, thoughtful, capable. He might learn things you like just to connect better with you. Maybe he watches a show you recommended, listens to music you love, or brings up a book you mentioned weeks ago. These are not random actions. They're quiet attempts to earn your admiration without saying the words out loud. And sometimes he tries to impress you by being emotionally present, remembering your favorite drink, opening the door without a second thought, or showing up when it counts. He does all this not to get something from you, but because making you smile genuinely matters to him. He's not trying to win you like a prize. He's trying to prove, in his own silent way, that he's worth standing beside. And the fact that he hides that effort, never wanting to seem like he's trying too hard, is exactly what makes it feel so real. Because love doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just quietly tries a little harder, hoping you'll feel it. 8. He silently supports you during your tough days. When a man is madly in love but doesn't say it, his love often shows up in quiet, steady ways, especially on your tough days. He may not always know what to say, and he might not try to solve all your problems. But he's there, without asking for attention, without making it about himself. He simply shows up and stays close. You'll notice he doesn't disappear when things get heavy. Instead, he checks in with a simple, "I'm here if you need me," or sends a message just to remind you you're not alone. He may not be the loudest voice in the room, but his presence is constant. Maybe he brings you coffee without asking. Maybe he lets you vent without interrupting. Maybe he just sits in silence, knowing that sometimes comfort isn't in words. It's in not having to explain everything. His support isn't performative. He's not doing it for praise or recognition. He's doing it because your pain affects him too. He sees your struggles and wants to lighten the load in any way he can, even if it's just by being there. Sometimes love doesn't come through grand gestures. It comes through stillness, through patience, through the quiet way he listens when your voice shakes, or the way he gives you space but never leaves the doorway of your heart. When a man shows up for you during your storms without needing to be seen, that's love in its purest, humblest form. He doesn't need to say he loves you. He's already proving it. 9. He feels proud when you achieve something. When a man is truly in love, even if he hasn't said it out loud, one of the clearest signs is how proud he feels when you achieve something. It doesn't matter how big or small the win is, whether you got a promotion, finished a tough assignment, helped someone, or just had the courage to do something difficult. He lights up with pride like it's his own victory. He might be the first to congratulate you, the loudest to cheer you on, or the one quietly watching you with a smile that says, "I always knew you could do it." And even if he doesn't say much, you can feel it in his energy. He celebrates you without jealousy, without competition, without making it about him, because your happiness genuinely adds to his. He'll tell others about your success, sometimes casually, sometimes with full admiration. He might say things like, "She's amazing," or "She really worked hard for that," not to gain attention, but because he wants the world to see what he already knows, that you're someone worth admiring. When a man truly loves you, your achievements aren't just your moments, they become his quiet victories too. He roots for you, not because he feels obligated, but because watching you rise makes his heart feel full. That kind of pride doesn't come from flirtation. It comes from deep emotional connection, from loving someone not for what they do for you, but for everything they are becoming. 10. He checks in just to know if you're okay. When a man is madly in love but hasn't voiced it yet, one of the most tender signs is how he checks in on you. Not because something's wrong, not because he needs anything, but simply to make sure you're okay. It could be a quick message, a short call, or a soft, "just thinking about you" in the middle of your day. He does it without expectation, without a hidden motive. He just genuinely wants to know how you're doing. Maybe you mentioned you had a tough meeting coming up, or you weren't feeling well the night before. He remembers, and later, when the moment passes, he follows up. How did it go? Are you feeling any better? Do you want to talk? These aren't just kind gestures. They're small windows into a heart that's learning to love quietly and deeply. Even when you don't say much, he senses things. If your tone is off, if your replies are shorter than usual, he notices. Not to pry, but to show that he cares enough to see you, really see you. And in those check-ins, he's doing something powerful. He's reminding you that your well-being matters to him, even in your silence. That level of attentiveness isn't casual. It's not something a man does just to pass time. It's a habit that comes from love, a quiet presence that says, "You're not alone, even if you haven't said a word." And when someone checks on you like that, just to make sure your heart's okay, that's more than affection. That's devotion in disguise. 11. He notices when you're not yourself, even slightly. When a man is deeply in love but hasn't said it aloud, his emotional radar for you becomes incredibly sharp. He starts to notice even the smallest changes in your mood or energy, things most people would overlook. You might smile the same, say all the right things, go about your day like nothing's wrong. But he knows. He senses when something's off. Maybe your voice is a little softer, or you're quieter than usual. Maybe your laugh doesn't sound quite the same, or you avoid eye contact more than normal. You don't have to spell it out. He just feels it, and instead of pushing you to talk, he gently asks, "Are you okay?" Or offers a calming presence until you're ready to open up. He notices when you're faking a smile, or when you're holding something in, not because he's suspicious, but because he's attuned to you. Your emotional state matters to him, not as a passing curiosity, but as a priority. He wants to understand what's behind your silence or sadness, not to fix you, but to stand beside you. And when he notices those small shifts, even when you try to hide them, that's not flirting. That's someone who sees beneath the surface. Someone who loves you in the quiet places where words don't always reach. It's in that still, intuitive care that love reveals itself most honestly. 12. He respects your silence when you don't want to talk. When a man is truly in love, but hasn't admitted it yet, one of the most powerful signs is how he handles your silence. Not every moment needs to be filled with words, and he understands that. When you're quiet, whether you're upset, overwhelmed, or just lost in your thoughts, he doesn't take it personally, and he doesn't pressure you to explain yourself before you're ready. He simply gives you space without walking away. He sits with you in the silence, offering presence instead of noise. Maybe he sends a simple message saying, "I'm here if you need me," or stays on the phone even when neither of you is speaking much. He doesn't force you to open up. He waits, gently and patiently, because he knows real connection doesn't need to be loud. It needs to be safe. Respecting your silence is his way of saying, "You don't have to perform for me. Just be." That kind of understanding doesn't come from flirtation. It comes from someone who cares about your emotional peace, not just your words. He knows that sometimes love is not in asking, but in allowing, and in that quiet permission to simply feel without judgment or pressure. His love speaks the loudest. 13. He pays attention to your likes and dislikes. When a man is in love, but hasn't said it yet, one of the clearest signs is how closely he pays attention to the things you like and dislike. You don't have to repeat yourself, because he's already listening. Not just with his ears, but with genuine interest. If you say you love a certain kind of tea, he remembers. If you mention a song you can't stand, he'll skip it without needing to ask. He's not doing this to impress you. He's doing it because your happiness genuinely matters to him. He wants to get it right, whether it's choosing a gift, planning a day out, or simply knowing how to comfort you. He notices how you take your coffee, how you react to certain topics, which foods you crave, and what little things make you uncomfortable. These details may seem small, but they're the language of someone who's deeply invested. Because love isn't always in the big moments. It's in remembering your favorite color, avoiding the things that annoy you, and showing up with the little things that make you smile. When a man starts shaping his choices around what brings you comfort or joy, it means he's not just thinking of you in the moment. He's carrying you with him, even when you're not around. That kind of attention isn't casual. It's careful, deliberate, and full of quiet love. 14. He avoids things that might upset you. When a man is truly in love but hasn't admitted it yet, one of the most telling signs is how he begins to avoid the things that might upset you. He doesn't need you to lay down rules or explain every boundary. He picks up on your discomfort, your triggers, the little things that make you uneasy, and he changes his behavior without being asked. Maybe he stops joking about something once he sees it didn't sit right with you. Maybe he avoids bringing up certain topics, or keeps his distance from people you clearly don't trust. He may even change small habits, like being more thoughtful with his words, staying off his phone during conversations, or making sure he's always on time. Because he knows those things matter to you. He's not trying to walk on eggshells. He's trying to protect your peace. It's not about control or obligation. It's about care. Your emotional comfort becomes a priority to him, sometimes even before his own convenience. And often, you won't even notice what he's changing, because he doesn't make a show of it. That's how you know it's real. Love doesn't just show up in how someone makes you happy. It also lives in how they make sure not to hurt you. When he quietly avoids things that might upset you, not out of fear, but out of love, it means he's already choosing you in the deepest way, not just with words, but with mindful respect. 15. He listens carefully, even when you think he's not. When a man is madly in love but hasn't said it, one of the most powerful clues is in how he listens, especially when you think he's not. Maybe you're venting about something small, rambling late at night, or casually mentioning something in passing. He doesn't interrupt, he doesn't rush you, and even if he doesn't say much in the moment, you'll see later that he was holding on to every word. He remembers the things you say weeks later, the names, the stories, the feelings behind them. He brings them up when you least expect it. Maybe he checks in on a problem you mentioned once and never brought up again. Maybe he remembers a specific date that matters to you, or he surprises you with something thoughtful you didn't even realize you told him you liked. It's not the loud, obvious kind of listening. It's the kind that comes from deep emotional presence, where even in silence he's tuned in. He's watching your expressions, listening to your tone, picking up on the little things that matter. He listens to understand, not just to reply. And that kind of attentiveness, especially when you think he's distracted or quiet, is one of the clearest signs of love. Because when a man truly cares, your words don't just pass through him. They stay, they settle, and they shape how he loves you, quietly, patiently, and with a kind of depth that doesn't need to be spoken to be felt.